Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we plunge into the fascinating currents of new information, giving you that shortcut to being truly well informed. Today, we're navigating the depths of underwater robotics. A field that often conjures images from sci fi movies or maybe those amazing deep sea documentaries. But these aren't just futuristic gadgets, they are uh, rapidly becoming the essential workhorses of our oceans. We're talking about everything from remotely operated vehicles, ROVs they're called, meticulously inspecting intricate undersea cables, to autonomous underwater vehicles, AUVs, which are capable of independently mapping uncharted seabeds or maybe monitoring marine ecosystems for pollution. Pretty amazing stuff. Our mission for this deep dive is to unpack some, well, truly surprising data about the global market for these incredible machines. We're drawing heavily from a recent market forecast. It's called the Global Underwater Robot Market Forecast 2021-2033 from Cognitive Market Research. We're not just going to throw numbers at you. We'll try to explain why these figures are so significant and, what they mean for our interaction with the vast underwater world. Okay, let's unpack this. Get ready for a transformative story told through some frankly mind-boggling numbers.
Indeed, in this deep dive, it's really about understanding more than just market values. It's about recognizing the emerging technological frontier these robots represent and how their rapid expansion is fundamentally changing industries and our capabilities beneath the waves.
Right. So let's start with the big picture, the global overview. The report tells us the global underwater robot market was already valued at a substantial $3,494.86 million back in 2021.
Which is already quite significant.
Exactly. Fast forward just a few years, and it's projected to reach $5,689 million by 2025. But here's the truly eye-opening part. It's anticipated to grow to a staggering $15,074.7 million by 2033.
Wow.
Yeah. To put that in perspective, that represents a compound annual growth rate, or CAGR, of 12.95% from 2025 to 2033.
Okay, 12.95%.
Think about that. That's a consistent double-digit leap, more than quadrupling the market in just over a decade. It really signals a fundamental shift in how we approach everything below the surface.
What's truly compelling here, I think, is not just the sheer absolute value, which, as you said, is considerable, but the consistent aggressive growth rate. This isn't just incremental progress. It points to a critical underlying shift in how industries operate underwater. For example, the oil and gas sector is increasingly deploying AUVs for complex pipeline inspections. That significantly reduces human risk and operational costs. We're also seeing massive uptake in the burgeoning offshore wind industry for, say, turbine foundation maintenance, and in aquaculture for real-time monitoring of fish health on farm infrastructure. So these robots aren't just replacing human divers, they're enabling tasks that were previously too dangerous, too expensive, or simply impossible. It's opening up entirely new economic frontiers and data streams.
That makes perfect sense. It explains the scale. So where exactly is this tidal wave of growth happening? Because it's certainly not uniform across the globe, is it?
No, definitely not.
Let's dive into the regional currents then.
That's right. While the overall trend is unequivocally upward, the pace varies significantly. We see different compound annual growth rates across continents and even within countries. This reflects, varied adoption rates, strategic priorities, and specific industrial needs in different places. Now, if we connect this to the bigger picture, Asia-Pacific is, well, it's really leading the charge in terms of growth dynamism. This region's market was valued at $933.13 million in 2021, and it's projected to reach $1,563.9 million by 2025. Looking further ahead, it's expected to hit $4,431.96 million in 2033. And get this, it boasts the highest regional CAGR of 13.88%.
13.88%.
Yeah.
Okay, and what's really fascinating here are the drivers within APAC, right? India, for example, is projected to achieve the highest national CAGR at a stunning 14.91%.
14.91, wow.
Yeah, expanding from around $114 million in 2021 to over $602 million by 2033. And China, which is already a colossal market, is showing a very strong 14.08% CAGR, growing from nearly $300 million to over $1.4 billion by 2033.
Huge numbers there.
Absolutely. And this surge, particularly in India and China, it isn't just a general trend. It seems heavily driven by their immense coastal infrastructure projects, rapidly expanding aquaculture industries, and maybe strategic interests in deep-sea resource exploration. We also see high growth rates in places like Singapore, 14.15%, and Indonesia, 14.12%, reflecting similar regional needs.
Exactly. This robust and widespread growth across multiple countries in Asia-Pacific really underlines a broad and strategic embrace of underwater robotics. It positions the region as a primary engine for the global market's expansion, driven by both economic development and national security interests in maritime domains.
Okay, interesting. Now let's shift gears and look at Europe, another major player in this field, but maybe with a slightly different character of growth.
Yes, Europe's market for underwater robots was actually the largest in 2021, starting at $1,121.85 million. It's projected to reach $1,735.76 million by 2025, then a substantial $4,658.08 million by 2033. That's with a solid CGR of 12.64%.
Still very strong, double digits.
Very strong. Germany is projected to remain the largest contributor in Europe, growing from about $213 million to over $950 million with a 13.42% CAGR. We also see significant contributions from the United Kingdom. That's $144 million to $627 million, 13.03% CAGR in France, $187 million to $565 million, 12.59% CAGR. But what's really notable in Europe, I think, is the sheer breadth of this growth. We're seeing consistent adoption and investment across many countries, from Italy and Spain to Sweden, Switzerland, Denmark. It reflects a mature yet consistently expanding maritime industry, along with strong R&D capabilities.
That broad adoption across such diverse economies is quite telling, isn't it? It suggests these robots are integrating into a wide array of existing maritime applications, not just niche areas.
Precisely.
Okay, and what about closer to home for many of us in North America?
Right, North America. Its market was valued at $971.57 million in 2021, growing to $1,494.93 million in 2025. It's projected to reach $3,904.35 million by 2033, with a compound annual growth rate of 12.29%. So again, strong double-digit growth.
Still very healthy.
Very. The United States accounts for the dominant share within this region, naturally. It's projected to reach over $3.1 billion by 2033, with a 12.16% CAGR. What's interesting, though, is that Canada shows a slightly higher individual CAGR of 13.15%.
Oh, really? Higher than the U.S.?
Just slightly, yes. Expand from around $93 million in 2021 to over $410 million by 2033. And Mexico also shows a healthy growth rate, 12.46%, contributing to the region's overall expansion, going from $85.5 million to nearly $350 million.
That's a compelling point about Canada. While the U.S. represents the largest chunk, Canada's accelerated growth rate suggests maybe unique drivers, perhaps related to their extensive coastline or resource exploration in challenging Arctic environments or specific defense needs, perhaps.
That seems plausible, yes. Different national priorities can definitely influence those rates.
Oh, okay. And beyond these major regions, we also see strong projected growth in other significant parts of the world, right? The report covers others too. South America, for instance, is projected to surge to $847.5 million by 2033. That's at a 13.32% CAGR. Brazil and Argentina are mentioned as key players there, likely driven by offshore energy and coastal management, I'd imagine.
That aligns with their economies, yes.
The Middle East is set to grow to over $726 million by 2033, with a 13.17% CAGR. Saudi Arabia and the UAE are leading the way there.
Fueled by their vast oil and gas operations, certainly, and maritime trade routes, too. UAE actually has a very high CGR, 13.85%.
Right, and Africa isn't left out either, moving to over $506 million by 2033 at a 12.48% CAGR. South Africa and Nigeria are highlighted as significant markets, perhaps focusing on maritime security and resource discovery.
It seems so. This truly reinforces that the growth in underwater robotics is unequivocally global. It's not confined to just a few industrial giants. It's being adopted across diverse economies, solving critical challenges and unlocking new capabilities worldwide, which really raises an important question. Why are we seeing such widespread adoption and investment across so many diverse global economies, and what does it all mean for the future?
Yes, exactly. So, bringing it all together, what does this all mean for you, our listener, and maybe for the world at large?
Well, it means the global underwater robot market isn't just experiencing, steady incremental growth. It's undergoing a significant, almost explosive expansion.
Yeah.
This is evident in those strong and consistent double-digit CAGRs we saw across nearly every continent. And this isn't just about bigger market numbers on a spreadsheet. It points to a critical shift in how industries operate underwater. We're talking about massive investments driven by, well, the need for more efficient and safer operations in offshore oil and gas, the rapid expansion of renewable energy like offshore wind farms,
Mhm.
increasing demands for deep-sea resource exploration, critical defense applications, and growing emphasis on environmental monitoring and conservation as
All
well.
right.
These robots are becoming indispensable tools for inspecting vast undersea infrastructure, maintaining crucial communication cables, assisting in search and rescue missions, and even supporting vital marine research into things like climate change and biodiversity.
Exactly. We're talking about a market that was, what, $3.5 billion in 2021?
Roughly, yes.
And it's on track to exceed $15 billion by 2033. That's more than a four-fold increase in just over a decade. This isn't just about technological advancement. It feels like a fundamental transformation in how humanity interacts with and manages the vast, largely unexplored realms beneath the ocean's surface.
I agree. And while these numbers are, of course, projections, they reflect very real underlying trends. Trends of investment, technological development, and an increasing reliance on automation to tackle the profound challenges and opportunities of our marine environments. These projections really signal a future where our understanding and utilization of the oceans will be increasingly mediated by these intelligent underwater systems.
And that wraps up our deep dive into the surging seas of underwater robotics. Thank you for joining us on this really fascinating journey through the numbers and their profound implications.
And given these incredible growth figures, perhaps consider this. What new frontiers or critical challenges, maybe deep-sea mining or climate change mitigation, might these underwater robots be poised to conquer by 2033? And how might that fundamentally change our understanding and our interaction with the oceans themselves?
A truly compelling question to ponder. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep. It's really fascinating, isn't it, how some of the most critical technologies are working away completely hidden, deep under the ocean. We hardly ever think about them, but these things are changing whole industries, finding secrets in places, most of us will never see. So today we're going deep into that hidden world, the fast-growing area of underwater robots. We've pulled together quite a bit of recent material, reports, research for this deep dive. Our mission really is to understand what's happening in the underwater robots market. We want to figure out what's pushing the growth, what the roadblocks are, and what cool trends are shaping things. Okay, let's unpack this. So first off, why the huge jump in demand? Why now? What's driving this explosion under the waves?
What's fascinating here is that, well, the main driver is still the offshore oil and gas industry. It really is.
Hmm.
As these companies go deeper, into tougher spots, subsea, that whole network of wells, pipelines, equipment down there, sending people becomes incredibly hard and dangerous. So underwater robots aren't just nice-to-haves anymore. They're absolutely vital for checks, maintenance, dealing with emergencies that keep things safe and running where humans just can't operate effectively.
Yeah, that makes total sense. The risk and cost for humans, I mean, it would be huge. And speaking of risk, national security looks like another really big piece of this. We're seeing governments everywhere spending more on maritime security, on defense. How do these robots play into that?
Precisely. Yeah, that increased spending on maritime security and defense globally. It's definitely pushing deployment faster.
Yeah.
These robots are, well, they're crucial for all sorts of critical jobs. Think discrete surveillance, reconnaissance in, sensitive waters, finding mines, even anti-submarine warfare. They give nations eyes and ears and sometimes teeth in vast ocean areas, handling threats that are just too risky or slow for older methods.
Wow. Okay, so the uses are really broad. But the tech underneath all that must be pretty impressive, too. What are the breakthroughs making them so much more capable these days, enabling these missions?
It really does come down to some pretty big tech leaps. We're seeing huge improvements in sensors, like much better sonar systems giving really detailed acoustic images. That's key because sound travels way better than light underwater. And then you have high-res cameras that work in almost no light, often with special lighting systems. They're changing what we can actually see. And crucially, AI. Artificial intelligence. Things like machine learning let these robots adjust to unpredictable currents, strange environments, all in real time. Computer vision helps them spot objects, detect problems, much better than before. It really cuts down on the need for constant human oversight and boosts mission success a lot.
Okay, so beyond the big players like industry and defense, I hear scientists are also really jumping on board. Marine research, oceanography, they seem to be using these systems more and more. What are they doing now that they couldn't before?
Oh, absolutely. ROVs, that's remotely operated vehicles,
Hmm.
and increasingly autonomous systems, AUVs, they're everywhere now.
Yeah.
They're being used to study, well, everything from delicate deep-sea ecosystems, finding new species sometimes, to mapping complex geology down there. And they're also vital for tracking climate change impacts on the oceans, collecting data on temperature, salt levels, currents, stuff we couldn't get so consistently or deeply before.
Here's where it gets really interesting. It's not just the obvious big stuff, right? Like oil or military uses. These robots are kind of popping up in some maybe unexpected commercial fields, too. What are some of those?
Yes, exactly. There's growing use in places like aquaculture fish farming. They use them for inspecting the farms, checking nets, fish health, all without disturbing things too much.
Hmm.
And they're also proving really handy for infrastructure monitoring, like checking the underwater parts of dams and bridges, or maintaining those vital communication cables running across the seabed. They're often more accurate and definitely more cost-effective than sending down human divers for everything.
So, clearly indispensable tech across so many areas. But, nothing's perfect, especially when you're working in such extreme conditions. What are some of the tricky parts, the hurdles these underwater robots face?
This raises an important question about, how widespread they can really become beyond the big spenders. A major issue, no doubt, is the cost. The high cost of just getting and running them. We're talking about really advanced systems, big investment needed, not just for the robot, but for the special sensors, the pressure-proof housings, the specialized manufacturing. It definitely limits who can access them. Smaller companies, university researchers maybe, they just don't have those kinds of budgets.
Right. And once you have one, keeping it going. That brings up power, doesn't it? How does limited battery life, power supply issues, how does that really affect what they can do?
Oh, it's a huge constraint. It directly impacts performance, mission scope. Limited batteries mean missions can't last as long or go as deep. That's a big problem if you're trying to explore huge areas or watch something for days or weeks. Getting reliable, long-lasting power down there is a constant headache for designers. It's often a trade-off, power versus how much gear you can carry.
And just finding your way around, communicating. That must be incredibly tough down there. It's not like they can just ping GPS, right?
Not at all. It's extremely challenging. Water basically blocks GPS and most radio signals, so you're forced to rely on acoustic systems using sound waves for communication and navigation. These are expensive, sometimes not perfectly reliable. They can be slower, carry less data, and get messed up by noise. It just adds more complexity, more cost.
Okay, so technical hurdles.
Yeah.
And then there are things like rules, regulations, environmental worries. How do those factor in?
Yeah, those external pressures are definitely significant barriers, especially in marine areas that are ecologically sensitive. People are more aware now of the potential impacts, noise, just the physical presence, maybe energy emissions. So using robots in these zones might be restricted, or the rules might be, well, unclear or different everywhere you go. That creates legal headaches, ethical ones too, for deploying them widely.
Okay. So despite all those pretty big challenges, the market's definitely still growing fast. Looking forward then, what's coming up? What are the key trends shaping the next wave of underwater robots?
A really major trend, maybe a game changer, is the rise of AUVs, autonomous underwater vehicles. Their big advantage is they're untethered, no cable, so they can travel huge distances quietly, unlike ROVs that are limited by their tether. This untethered freedom allows for true deep-sea exploration, long missions without needing someone constantly at the controls. It really opens up possibilities for independent robotic action.
Wow, robots just going off on their own, making decisions. That's amazing. And it's not just single robots either, is it? I keep hearing about swarm robotics, coordinating multiple robots. What does that allow for?
Exactly. They're being developed for tasks that are just too complex or spread out for one robot. Think about coordinated surveillance, multiple AUVs covering a massive area together, or creating super detailed 3D maps of complex underwater structures, each robot adding its piece. Even things like complex search and rescue could be transformed, with teams of robots working together to find something or someone much faster.
What about the robots themselves? Any trends in how they're built that might help with, say, those cost issues we talked about?
Definitely. Miniaturization and modular design are really changing things. This trend is leading to smaller, more compact, and often more cost-effective solutions. If components are smaller, interchangeable, the robots are easier to launch from smaller boats, easier to fix, easier to customize for specific jobs. That naturally makes the tech more accessible to more people and helps bring down the overall cost of using them.
Makes sense. And finally, we often see tech developed for one thing end up being used for another. Is that dual use idea happening here? Are companies designing robots strategically for both, say, commercial and military customers?
Oh, absolutely. That's a clear strategic focus for many manufacturers now. They recognize the overlap in what the core systems need to do. So, for instance, a robot designed to carefully inspect an underwater pipeline for an oil company, well, its sensors and navigation could easily be adapted for finding mines or doing reconnaissance for a navy. This dual-use approach just makes the robots more attractive across different markets, drives innovation, and expands their overall usefulness.
So what does this all mean? We've taken quite the journey today, haven't we, into this deep world of underwater robots. We've seen how vital they are for offshore energy, national security, how much they're helping marine science, and even popping up in fish farms. We've also looked hard at the real challenges, the high costs, the power limits, the communication struggles, the tricky regulations, and we've seen what's coming next. Truly autonomous explorers, robot teams working together, smaller and more flexible designs, and robots built for multiple purposes.
It really does underscore how our ability to reach into and understand the deepest parts of our planet is just exploding. Not just with people, but through these incredible machines. This technology is letting us see and interact with the ocean in ways that were, frankly, impossible just a short time ago. We're accessing places that were completely out of reach.
Yeah. And as these powerful, increasingly smart, autonomous systems go deeper into places we've never seen, it really makes you think, doesn't it, about that balance. How do we weigh this amazing drive for discovery against our need to protect these fragile, often unknown ocean realms? It's a really profound question these robots are pushing us to ask. Something for you to ponder. Until next time, keep exploring.